are based on sort of their drilling results. I mean, to date, Rubicon hasn't unearthed anything that's really been earth-shattering. To that extent, it's been slightly disappointing. I think the management's very strong. I think the land package is strong. And I think in this correction that is now ongoing in the junior gold market, I would certainly be a buyer of Rubicon.
Okay, Terry in Oshawa. Hello, Terry.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Great. My mother owns gold coins and silver bars, and I have a question. Where does a person go to sell these this commodity or precious metal, and how do they go about doing it?
Gee, I don't think they should sell them, but if you feel the need, I mean, you can go to coin dealers, obviously. And that's what I would do.
Would you? What do you hold in terms of bullion, or in terms of?
We own
the
silver.
metal itself.
We actually own silver bars. Yeah.
Silver bars.
Yeah, we take delivery in large silver bars.
And you were saying before the show that you were having trouble getting delivery. What's that telling you?
Well, I mean, there's two. As I've said about gold, it's even more extreme in the silver market. I mean, there's two markets. There's the cash market, where they're the paper market, I call it, where these guys are messing around with derivatives. They're short millions of ounces they don't own and never have any intention. And then there's the physical market. And for example, let's say if you're long silver certificates or you're long on the COMEX, which is a paper contract, and then you say to them, I want my silver. Like, I'm just not satisfied that just sitting here with this piece of paper that's saying I own silver. I want my silver. It's amazing. Like, I mean, on the contract it says you can get your silver in 5 days. Well, you do not get your silver in 5 days these days, particularly if you want it in any size. I believe Central Fund just did another issue, and they raised about $100 million, a significant proportion of which goes into silver. I think they can't get 90, I think it's 90 days before they can get the silver they've already purchased. There is a distinct shortage of physical silver in the market. And this price action that you see sort of falling from $8.50 to under $7 is not indicative of the real market. This market is being messed around by the paper players, and they're going to get their heads handed to them before it's over.
Where do you see silver?
I see it $10 in the not too distant future, and I see it multiples of the current price over the next 4 or 5 years.
All right, Jan on the line from Markham. Hello, Jan.
Good afternoon, Jim, John.
Hi.
Like your previous caller, John, I would like to thank you for the many gains I've had on your recommendations. But one little one that you recommended a while ago was Goldor, G-O-Z,
Yep.
on the venture. And at the time you said you liked the two gentlemen running it,
Yep.
and if there was gold to be found, they'd find it. Are you still bullish on this stock, or?
I still own it. They've been very slow off the mark, but I mean, I have a high regard for the two of them, Glenn Dixon and his partner. They found gold before. As I said, I'm a patient man. Until such time as they sort of blow all their money or give it up, I'm going to stick with them. So I think you just got to be patient.
And Dennis in Richmond Hill. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi, yes, a big fan of yours, and we'd like to ask you a question on Orvana Minerals.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the picture in Orvana from a production point of view is really improving. I believe they will get up to their 60 to 70,000 ounce annual rate very shortly, and I believe that the costs on that will continue to improve. I still have a target in the low 100s. I guess if there's an issue with Orvana, and I'm a huge shareholder in my fund, is that the subject of Bolivia makes people uncomfortable. I mean, there definitely is a very strong left-wing movement in Bolivia these days, and the government is, to put it mildly, somewhat unstable. Having said that, these people are in a remote part of Bolivia, and I don't think they will be impacted. But I think the company may sort of carry a discount because of the Bolivian exposure. On a more positive nature, I think they've got tremendous exploration prospects in Bolivia, and I know that they are seeking opportunities outside of Bolivia because these people have tremendous expertise in building mines. I think that's going to be expertise that's going to be in short supply going forward, and their services will be in great demand.
We'll take a short break. Be back with John Embry in just a moment with a look back at some of his past picks from mid-December. Please stay with us.
said. The 260 horsepower SRX V6 performance utility. Catalyst. Breakthrough.
Since 1954, RBC's had mortgage specialists to help you with the right mortgage. The difference is, today they come to you because you've got lots of things to do. Another way RBC puts you first. RBC Royal Bank, first for you.
It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change.
Nothing in the world is so powerful as an idea whose time has come.
The 2004 Toyota 4Runner. Where will it take you?
Back with John Embry. John, what is the biggest plus, the biggest driving force behind gold right now?
Well, I think in the longer run, it's clearly this debasement of paper and the realization that you'd better get some protection in tangible assets. But in the short run, I think something that people may be overlooking a bit is this incredible increase in geopolitical tension. I mean, a lot of it's spurring from the unfolding disaster in Iraq. But I mean, there's no secret that, I mean, the gold bottom, a lot of people were looking for gold to go down to about 365, 370 when it sort of hit 392 about a month and a half ago. And I don't believe it the least bit coincidental that first we had the Madrid bombing, shortly followed by when the Israelis took out the leader of Hamas. But almost coincidentally, the gold market just turned around and started going the other way. I think there is a growing recognition that the world is becoming a more dangerous place with each passing day. And people are, when in this kind of environment, just at the margin, more people feel comfortable with the sort of the historical store of value. I think there's a tremendous physical demand for gold, and it's being enhanced by these developments on the geopolitical front.
Okay, Reginald on the line from Hamilton. Go ahead.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Hello.
My concern is Barrick Gold. When is it? Are we at a good time to get in?
You're probably asking the wrong guy on that one.
You don't own this, do you?
No.
I was just curious when I should step in again. Because I sold a couple months ago when it was at a particular high back then.
I would step into Barrick aggressively if they came forth and had done a major reduction in their hedge book. I mean, until such time, in view of my belief that we are in the cusp of materially higher gold prices, I would be very careful with Barrick. I think you'd be much better served in a large company with a large reserve base that does not have a fairly significant hedge book. I mean, I've heard all the arguments from Barrick as to why this is not a problem. I do not agree with them, and as a result, I cannot recommend the stock.
If they unwind the hedge position completely, would you buy it?
Absolutely.
Good.
I like a lot of the people in Barrick. I mean, Alex Davidson, who runs the exploration side, I'm a great admirer of. I think he's a terrific guy. But unfortunately, they have some hang-up on this hedge book. I mean, and as long as they're going to sort of stick with it, not with my money.
Okay, it served them well in years past, though, didn't it?
I mean, I have no problem with hedging in a market which is flat or bearish. But I mean, when you're hedged in a market that could be explosive to the upside, I think you're playing with fire.
Let's look back at some past picks from December 17th, and you were recommending silver bullion, which was then 571 or so it's up 22%. Come back a little bit. It's around $7 now.
Gee, if I had to come in last week, it would have looked even better. But no, I mean, it's gotten really knocked in its ear, as I said earlier, because of all this paper stuff. I'm extremely bullish in silver, and I would sort of stand by. I think this is just another God-given gift here to sort of buy more.
And are you buying more now?
Yep, we have been internally.
Okay. Queen Stake Resources was 73 cents. That's a penny stock. I see you're recommending it again today. So you're down slightly, but what?
Well, I mean, again, this is one that's, this is one of my picks for today. I mean, I think Queen Stake is a horribly misunderstood stock. They have the capacity to produce 300,000 ounces. They are producing 300,000 ounces. And they look like they can probably increase that to 350,000 ounces. The issue has been how long their reserve base will be able to sort of last. I was down at the mine in October of last year, and I am absolutely convinced that this thing will probably be producing gold after I'm pushing up Daisy. So I don't have a big problem with its reserve base. So I think the stock, it's a penny because there's so many shares outstanding. There's 400 million shares outstanding. I think because it really is a significant producer, it's the 5th largest producer in the United States, that they should bust the stock back at some point and sort of, instead of having 400 million shares, have like 100 million shares, and you have a more representative price on it, and maybe institutions would feel more comfortable. I think it's a terrific situation.
Now, what about QGX? It was 535, down about 19% on that. Any misgivings about that one?
None at all. I mean, if you look at the whole junior gold market, which is where I sort of play, I mean, the whole sector has been crushed in one way or the other since December the 17th. I mean, the juniors peaked late November, and they've sort of been doing relatively poorly ever since. If anything, I think QGX is a terrific opportunity here. Barrick, as you know, bought 10% of the company at $4, so you're very close to the price at which Barrick went in. And their recent drilling results on their Golden Hills property in Mongolia were, I thought, outstanding. And I know the management thought they were outstanding. We're in a very dull period here. People just don't, you know, it's funny. Gold stocks are like manic depressives. Either people are crazy about them, can't get enough of them, or now they just couldn't care less. And we're in that sort of depressive stage, and no, it's a great opportunity to buy QGX.
All right. That's the first half of our show. We'll take a short break. Be back with John for another half hour. John Embry, we're talking about precious metals, gold, silver, and we'll ask him his target on gold when we come back in just a moment.
If your online broker charges 3 cents a share, you're paying 1.5 cents too much. If your online trades take more than a second, you're trading way too slow. We're Disnat Direct, the online brokerage service of Disnat from Desjardins. We're ranked #1 for active traders. We charge just 1.5 cents per share and can trade in less than 1 second. Get a free demo and a $200 commission rebate. Visit ddvalue.com.
You'd expect a luxury sedan to have aerodynamic lines. But Lexus engineers went a step further. Dimpled panels were used on the undercarriage to reduce noise and lower wind resistance. So it's aerodynamic from every angle.
CIBC Aero Gold Visa Card for Business, because you and your business need more than just a credit card.
Cash flow is a constant worry for small business. You're waiting on cash to come in and you need stuff now. Aero Gold for Business gives me financial flexibility. High credit limit, low interest rate, it enables me to carry a balance. And that's good for business.
It helps you run your business and gives you travel rewards.
I took a special vacation to a real exotic place. Without the Aero Gold for Business card, we wouldn't have had enough aeroplane miles to go to this destination.
Sign up now to receive 5,000 bonus Aeroplan miles, 1/3 of the way to a flight.
There's not one place that I have found where this card has not been accepted.
You can redeem your Aeroplan miles for flights with Air Canada or other airline partners from the Star Alliance network.
I'm getting something in return for just spending money. And I spend a lot of money, so it's kind of nice.
Sign up now for your CIBC Aero Gold Visa Card for Business.
You are watching Report on Business Television.
Welcome back. Thursday edition of Market Call. I'm Jim O'Connell. We're talking about precious metals and junior mining companies. John Embry is our guest. We got him for another half hour. Chief Investment Strategist at Sprott Asset Management. And if you have a question, make note of our phone number, which is 1-877-667-6288. Direct number is 416-957-8199. John, let's get to your target on gold. First of all, short, then mid, then longer term.
Well, I think that once we get through this current unpleasantness, it won't be long until we're on our way towards 480, 500. And I think that's in the next several months. I think that clearly we will take out, before this bull market is that far advanced, we will take out the all-time high, which was reached back in 1980, which was 800, 850, depending on what day you used. And beyond that, anything's possible. I mean, I like to say that it's not gold that changes in value. It's the value of the money in which it's being priced is what's changing in value. And as a result of what the untenable position the United States has put itself in with its entire debt picture, I mean, just the debt in the system is staggering. And we know all about the trend deficits, the trade deficit, the budget deficit, and what have you. They really can't afford to have the debt come in on them, so they're going to have to create more and more debt to keep the whole thing rolling. So I see interest rates remaining low, money creation being just at staggering amounts, and the value of things that are sort of in finite supply will rise in the value of paper.
So 850 over the next several years,
I'd say 850.
And beyond.
And then beyond, who knows? I mean, anything's possible.
What does that do, if that happens, to the equity markets? How vulnerable are the stock markets right now?
Well, I think the stock markets, conceivably, if they keep pouring money into the system and keep rates low, as long as inflation doesn't go crazy, the market may be able to hang in there. I'm concerned that there'll be an involuntary rise in rates, and you're starting to see it in the U.S. bond market. And that will sort of start to call into question these valuations, because the stock market's as richly valued in many ways as it ever has been, and most people are dependent on these low rates. Everybody's talking no inflation, low rates. I think a change in that perception will have a dramatically negative impact on the stock market.
What's the bond market telling you right now?
Well, the bond market's telling me that the bond market's been very sort of, rigged's the wrong word, but the fact is when the Japanese were buying all those bonds in the first 3 months of the year, they bought $135 billion worth of American paper. They're recycling it to keep the yen under control. I mean, that sort of created a false bond market. And now the bond market's really giving way. To me, it looks like it's just broken down. And clearly, the number that really got them 2 days ago or yesterday was the CPI. For the first time, reality entered the numbers. I mean, I think they've been cooking these numbers for months. But I guess they've reached a stage where they can only get away with to a certain extent. And so a 6% annual rate of inflation, I mean, when you got a 1% Fed funds rate and a 10-year bond at 4.30, why would anybody hold paper? I mean, you're losing money just sitting there. So I think the bond market's in trouble.
Okay, we have many more calls for you, John, so we'll get to them right after this message. Please stay with us.
Cars have headlights to illuminate the road ahead, but Lexus has developed a headlight that actually rotates up to 15 degrees to reveal what's around the corner before you actually get around the corner. What kind of difference can 15 degrees make? A very noticeable one.
Let's get back to the lines. Ken in Marathon, Ontario. Hello, Ken.
Hello, Jim. And John, first of all, John, I couldn't agree anymore when you used the word manipulation in the price of silver. I think the last few days are pretty evident of that. My question is, you mentioned gold and silver stocks. What percentage of each do you own, recommend, and can you just comment on the GSR? Thank you. I'll listen to your call.
Basically, there isn't a lot of silver stocks that I can really wrap my mind around. I mean, we've got a lot of silver bullion in our fund before the recent torching of the silver bullion market. We had about 12% in bullion. Probably had another 13, 14% in stocks that you could say had a lot of correlation with silver. Things like Gammon Lake and Western Silver and Coeur d'Alene, certainly, which is a pure silver play. I'm always on the lookout for good silver stocks because I really do think there's a huge play here in the short run. So, yeah, we'd probably be close to 25% in our fund with some representation towards silver.
Okay, let's go to Woodstock, New Brunswick. Hello, Robert.
Good day. John, I was wondering, as the gold price continues to rise, I suspect there'll be some companies taken over or taken out. And I was wondering if Bolivar Gold would be an example of that, and if not, could you mention that maybe a company that might?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, I do believe that we saw recently this Wheaton River merger, which may or may not proceed to conclusion. But I think there will be more takeover activity as the gold price rises. I think one of the things that's probably held back activity is a lack of belief on gold mining executives' part that the gold price was going to rise. So consequently, because gold stocks are anticipating a higher gold price, these guys can't chin themselves to the prices they would have to pay to buy the stocks. I think one of the real compliments I can pay to Wheaton River is that they figured it out early on, and they went out and bought gold assets when they were relatively cheap because they knew the gold price was going up. I think for a lot of these guys to do it going forward, they're going to have to sort of embrace that same feeling. I think Bolivar Gold is a potential takeout. I mean, clearly Goldfields and Bolivar have a strong relationship, and Bolivar has this wonderful land spread in potential operating mine in Venezuela. I mean, if Bolivar get taken out, it would have to be Goldfields. I think it's a matter of price, and I think they may have talked at one stage, but I'm not sure they could get together on a price. One stock that I think conceivably is going to get taken out in the not too distant future because the prices come down is Meridian Gold. I believe that the Esquel property, which is a very good one, which they've had a huge permitting problem with, I'm not sure they can ever develop it. This is just a personal opinion, but I'm sure somebody else can. So this asset may be worth more to somebody else than it is to Meridian, which would make Meridian at the current price, I think, a very interesting takeout candidate.
You own Meridian at this point?
I do, yes. I've been buying Meridian. I think it's quite interesting down here.
Okay. Paul in Montreal. Hello, Paul.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Great show, as usual. Mr. Embry, I'd like to ask you about Bema Gold. Globe and Mail called it a dog on their Stars and Dogs. I was just wondering, do you think they're right, and should I dump my position or hang on and hope for the best? Thank you.
No, I would most assuredly not dump my position. I think that one of the issues short run with Bema was that Clive Johnson, for whom I have a tremendous regard, has been running around on that Cerro Casale property that he owns 25% of, and Placer has 50%. And he was sort of intimating that Placer was going to be forced into a production decision. And I think that was maybe at the margin built into the price of Bema, and now there's been some sort of toing and froing in this. I think that's hurt. I think their earnings, because of their operating mine in South Africa being a little dull, has hurt. But I think the positive that can't be ignored is the Kupol project in Russia, which is one of the great, great ore bodies on the face of the earth. And I would own Bema, and I do own Bema, on that premise alone, just to be able to participate in Kupol.
We have an email from Hans on Samex Mining, SXG, on the Venture. This is a small one.
Yeah, I have a large position in this. I quite like the guy that runs the firm, Jeff Dahl, who's an old broker at Canaccord. And he's put together an interesting land package. He's got the Los Zorros property down in Chile, which is, I think, very prospective. And the stock's done well for me. I bought it around 2 bits, traded up to about $1.50. I think it's currently around $1 or so.
$1.06 or so.
And yeah, I think it's pulled back. It's another one of these. But again, it's a speculation because they've got to drill this property, and if it doesn't prove out, it won't do as well. But I think it's got a really good shot. The geological indications are good.
You mentioned speculation. Perhaps we should point out how volatile these stocks can be and the liquidity problems of getting in and out of them.
Well, yeah, they're volatile for a number of reasons. I mean, as I said earlier, gold stock buyers tend to be manic depressive. So that alone leads to an enormous swing, irrespective of the fundamentals remaining just the same. But then that's exacerbated by the fact that the fundamentals can change quite dramatically. You start drilling a property that looks pretty good. And you get anticipation of success in the price of the stock, and guess what? They don't all turn into ore bodies. So when you get some bad news, these stocks can get drilled. I mean, we just had a classic example. It had nothing to do with the drilling in Cumberland Resources, which I owned a small position in, thank goodness. You know, fairly significant ore body up in Nunavut, but they just redid the capital cost estimates for the thing, and they were just off the charts. And the stock got cut in half. I think that this might be a sign of the times, because I think for people to build mines, it's going to be far more expensive than they're currently thinking, because the inputs, steel, energy, everything that goes into building a mine, prices are going up like rockets. As a result, I'm actually keener these days if I can find producers that are already in production at a reasonable price, because you don't have the uncertainty of what it's going to cost to build it.
We'll take a short break. Be back in just a moment. Our discussion with John Embry continues right after this. Give us a call.
All cars have headlights to illuminate the road ahead. But Lexus has developed a headlight that actually rotates up to 15 degrees to reveal what's around the corner before you actually get around the corner. What kind of difference can 15 degrees make? A very noticeable one.
If you're trading online, you owe it to yourself to use the best tools available. You owe it to yourself to use Trade Freedom.
Trade Freedom is great. It gives me an opportunity to profit from opportunities I find in the marketplace.
Since 1999, Trade Freedom has helped traders take their online trading to the next level through a direct access brokerage service. Now you can place better trades through better technology at a significantly lower price, as low as just $9.95 per trade.
I like Trade Freedom because it's really fast. If you're trading through a browser, you're not trading direct access.
Trade Freedom provides instant trades via direct access routing to U.S. and Canadian markets. Plus, the Trade Freedom Navigator is so flexible you can use it as a free standalone platform or seamlessly integrated into leading quote feed platforms like Realtick, eSignal, and QCharts.
Trade Freedom charges me less commissions than online brokerages, and I like that.
Time is money. So visit tradefreedom.com and download your free trial today.
I like Trade Freedom a lot.
Every hour of every business day, news happens. And because you can't be everywhere, we are. Wrap up the entire business day in one smart hour.
The Business News with Howard Green. Weeknights at 6:30 on Report on Business Television. Closed captioning of this program is brought to you in part by Lunch Money with Michael Hainsworth.
Back to the lines. Paulette in Toronto. Hello, Paulette. You're on the air.
Hi. Well, first, Jim, let me say how much I enjoy your show. It's always a pleasure listening to you hosting it.
Thank you.
John, Wheat and River Minerals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've already talked about it in terms of the crossover and the merge with gold. Why do you think it has dropped as much as it has? It seems to be quite a drop from the 450, 460 mark that it went. And do you have a target on it, and in what time frame?
I think there's two issues. I mean, clearly the whole gold sector has dropped here. And because of its proposed merger, I think the stock was inflated because of the merger. And there is some issues now whether the merger necessarily will be completed, because I think there are some unhappy shareholders on the other side who aren't quite sure that this acquisition of Wheaton River is in their best interests. I think so that might have had a little impact on Wheaton as well. I mean, both stocks have been under considerable pressure. So I guess the third issue is that they do get an awful lot of their earnings from copper. I don't have anything particularly against copper, although it is basically, I think in the end, going to be driven by the economy. I like gold because the economy has nothing to do with it. This is a monetary thing. I would prefer a pure gold company to a gold copper company at this juncture.
What about some of the other metals? Platinum, for example.
Well, platinum is sort of like, if you really want to look at platinum, gold should be trading where platinum is. I mean, they don't have that different basic economic.
$930.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically. I mean, if there was no sort of central bank gold and everything that can be available, platinum's a freely traded market, and it's in strong demand because they love it for jewelry and for catalytic converters and what have you. And there's a fairly significant supply constraint, but there's a supply constraint coming out of the ground for gold now, too. So, I mean, I don't dislike platinum. I just like gold and silver better because their prices have been constrained, whereas platinum's is freely trading, and it reflects the fundamentals in the market.
Angie on the line from Etobicoke. Hello, Angie.
Hello. Good afternoon, gentlemen. John, I was wondering if you're still following Axman Resources and what your opinion is of the company.
I'm following it very closely. I mean, it's been under significant pressure. It's essentially been cut in half. It got way ahead of itself late last year when they ran it up to about $1.50. That one I couldn't understand because there was nothing in the company that would have suggested it should have gone that far. But now that it's pulled back into about the 78-cent range, I think the stock's very attractive again. What I particularly like about it is, A, the track record of the people in it. They've had great success finding ore bodies in Africa. They have a very interesting one in Central African Republic, which I believe will ultimately be a mine. But the other issue that I really like is that their parent company, Audax, which is a Swiss company, they've been operating all over Africa for years. They're oil traders and what have you. They have tremendous relationships within Africa with the governments and what have you. And they have they give them an entree into countries. They've just moved into a formerly war-torn country, Sierra Leone, which has really interesting geology, but nobody could really get in there because of what was going on. Things have quieted down, and they've used their connections to move in there, and I think they're establishing a land package as we speak. I just think it's a terrific African explorer, and I like Africa as a destination to find gold.
You have a substantial position?
I have a huge position. I would probably have 10% of the company.
Okay. Ian in Toronto. Hello, Ian.
Hi, hello. I was wondering how you felt about Northern Dynasty and whether you'd consider that a buy.
I despite my great regard for the guys at Hunter Dickinson Group, Ron Thiessen et al., I don't agree with them on Northern Dynasty. I think that stuff's dirt. I don't believe that's ore, so I mean, I'm not there on that one.
All right. And Farouk in Toronto, are you with us?
Hi, guys. This is Farouk. You know, my question is to Mr. Embry about